Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, and you with Simon today. And we're going to be doing another subscriber chart reading. I'm really excited about this one, as I am with all of them, to be honest. And as always, this is a great opportunity to learn evolutionary astrology, to see how I do an astrology reading, and for our wonderful Patreon member that allowed us to have their chart read for us. And this is a great opportunity to learn, right? As always. And so for you that is actually following this series and watching how this works, I hope that you're finding a lot of value out of it. And again, if you've got questions that you want to share on this video, please feel free to do that. It would be really interesting because, of course, a lot of people get to learn, and the person that actually has this chart gets an opportunity to see other layers of how their chart works. Okay, so let's just move my microphone closer over here. Let's have a look, right? The first thing that we do when we look at an astrology chart is we go through to Pluto, and Pluto sits in the first house of the astrology chart, which is over here. Okay, it's right on the ascendant, and it's in Scorpio. So immediately we know that this is a soul that is progressively over lifetimes exploring something new about themselves, exploring something new, a new direction. And we don't really know what that is entirely. We just know that this is an energetic impulse from the soul that says, this is a direction that I want to try out. This is a direction I want to try out. That's a direction I want to try out. And I would say that because Pluto is, literally sitting on the ascendant over there, ascendant being 6 degrees, and Pluto being 7, this is not a lifetime, or should I say, this is very much like one of the first lifetimes that this experience is actually materialized. And there's something here that the soul is clearly wanting to liberate and break free and let go of, okay, whatever it might be. When Pluto sits in the first house and it's in the constellation Scorpio, and the planetary ruler of Pluto is itself, because Pluto's in Scorpio, we can see that this is an energy that says, okay, I'm going to meet life very intensely. I'm going to meet life head on. I'm going to interact with it. I'm going to be there. It's going to be very intense. People are going to see me as intense. And part of my path in this lifetime is to really meet life at that intimate level. And it can sometimes be very scary with this Pluto placement, because for you, it's not something that you're going like, oh, I'm going to choose to be like this or not. You are like this in each moment. And my question to you is, I wonder how your birth was, and if there were certain experiences that showed up as maybe life or death, as an example. With Pluto, there's always going to be some element of something ending and something beginning. And this can be regarding growing up and witnessing a lot of death, unfortunately, or watching a lot of transformation in home, or in some case, actually showing up and saying, there were a lot of weddings, there were a lot of births, my family's big, as an example. So Pluto in the first year in Scorpio definitely shows up with that intensity. And I think that because in this chart over here, Pluto is opposing the moon, which we can see there, Pluto in opposition to the moon, even though there's not an actual line that shows up there. Okay, Pluto's 7 degrees Scorpio, the moon's 17, so it's a 10-degree orb, which for me is still fairly impactful. There's going to be definitely something around how do I relate to other people, and how do I show up and say, well, this is a lifetime of intensity and commitment and wanting to be merged with, but other people might see me as somebody that is pretty emotionally stable, maybe even emotionally secure. And so this Pluto-Moon opposition can tend to be very empowering to live with. Okay, because you might attract a certain amount of people that seem to be solid within their own identity. And I think that this is something that's really important for you, actually, with Pluto in opposition to the moon. you definitely learn a lot about your feelings of safety and feelings of security, and you learn a lot about what is self-reliance through people as well. Now, the nodes have got something really interesting associated with it, right? So what have you been, your story is clearly I'm discovering myself, I'm going in a new direction. Sometimes I have to witness experiences of loss, sometimes I've let go of things. But overall, life is very, very transformation orientated. Now, how have you been operating in the most recent lifetimes? What has been transforming you for you? So your South Node sits in the 11th house Libra, and we know evolutionary astrology sees the South Node as the past ego identity, right? The kind of context. So this has to do with how you relate to people in groups, right? How do you relate to friends and associations? And the word relatability comes through the South Node in Libra. And then it being in the 11th house says, well, I've been relating to different types of groups because groups correlate to individuation, So you've been trying to find yourself within the groups. You've been trying to find yourself with different ideas about how we can resonate with each other. So an example that I can give here is that you show up and you're part of a certain group of people that believe that the world is made out of sort of, I don't know, biscuits. maybe it's a bit too abstract in terms of my story. Let's come down to earth a little bit. Let's say that you're a group of friends, and you notice that within the context of your group of friends, some people have very extreme ideas to the left, and some have very extreme ideas to the right. And the reason why I'm using the word extreme is because Libra correlates to extremes, okay? So, and you're in this process, and you're looking at every situation. You're saying, well, I agree with you over there, and I agree with you with what you say over there, but I personally can't make a decision around what it is that I think, I feel, or know about my stance. So I'm going to kind of just be in the middle over here. And that can create a whole lot of dynamics with that Pluto in the first house, where it says, well, maybe if you don't believe what we believe, then we feel abandoned by you or betrayed by you, or you've got to commit to something, So that South Node Libra shows up, and it's very interesting because your South Node is obviously squared by Chiron, and your North Node, well, your South Node is squared by Chiron over there. And so is the North Node, of course. But you also have Neptune square the nodes as well. And that's a direct square, right? 5 degrees in the second house, Capricorn. And your nodes are at 4 degrees. So that's just 1 degree off that exact square. The other thing that I want to add to the story over here as well is that the planetary ruler of your South Node is Venus, and Venus sits in the 9th house of the astrology chart over there, and it's in Leo, which is conjunct the Sun, right? The Sun in Leo is the same archetype, so you have the Sun conjunct Venus, and you have Venus in the 9th house, you have the Sun in the 9th house, and you've got the stellium, where it's Mars, Sun, Venus, and Mercury, very closely connected, okay? Now, the essence of this South Node is going to play out through its planetary ruler, which of course we identify as Venus. And that's why I brought up this dynamic of what do you believe? What do you believe? What do you believe? And I think that you've been searching or trying to see what is the context of your belief system within groups. And you've been looking at different belief systems and ideologies that people have, Venus in 9th house. And you've been trying to understand why people value the thing that they value. So why do you believe in that way? Why do you believe in that? And you're comparing and contrasting with that South Node in the 11th house, Libra, because Libra is about comparing and contrasting, right? And you're looking at the reasons why people commit to them. You're looking at the reasons as to why people believe in those things. And you yourself might have even found a special purpose or like cosmology that you subscribe to that allows you to relate to people within groups or not. So you're very aware of how certain faiths and certain belief systems can polarize people or keep them very unified. And again, the polarization comes with Libra as well, because when two people are not able to interact with each other in a way that is sharing and inclusion, well, then it's polarization. So that Chiron in the 8th house Gemini, I think, relates to a very profound sensitivity around two things, I think. One, people like being committed to what people believe and not knowing exactly what to commit to around what people believe in. So you're in a group and you're following this group and they go, hey, you must believe in this. And you go, no, I don't really know. I'm sitting on the fence about this. And they go, well, if you don't commit to the group, then, you know, you're not integrated, as an example. And I think that this is something that your soul's trying to work with in this lifetime as the download comes through to me, is that with Chiron in the 8th, there's a sensitivity, a woundedness around feeling like you could really connect with people around and communicate with people around their truth when it is the wrong group of people, right? Naturally speaking, but it's sensitive for yourself. And so in the past, you've been working deeply and trying to understand how to belong to certain groups of people that can be, in a sense, welcoming to what you believe to be true, right? So you're looking for communities and you say, oh, these people believe this, these people believe that. I like that. Let me interact with it. And then you interact with it and you start to notice that there are certain things around that group that may not actually be in alignment with your own truth. And that's how you're discovering yourself in this lifetime. And then, of course, one of the other dynamics is because Neptune sits on the other side of the chart, it's actually saying, well, part of the story for you is really getting clear and very specific around the values that those people have within the group. So you're comparing and contrasting the different values. And the Neptune says, are you inspired by this? Do you find meaning in it? Right? Does it bring you fulfillment? Are you in alignment with something that is unifying to you? So Neptune in Capricorn in the 2nd, unification through the values of and how people define themselves. So definition is Capricorn, 2nd house is the values and the needs. And then, of course, the Neptune says, do I feel inspired by this? Do I find meaning in this process or not? With Neptune, it is meaning or not. Am I clear about this or confused about this or not? And then I think with the North Node sitting in your 5th house, Aries, it says you are ultimately in trying to nurture and individuate yourself from the collective idea of what values are. And with Chiron in the 8th, it's that sensitivity around people going, but now you're abandoning us. Now you're not part of our tribe anymore. Or am I welcomed? You see? So it's a really interesting way of how that works. And so the evolutionary intention for you in this lifetime really is to align yourself with people that share the same values as you, basically. And as you progressively move into those things and you recognize that, you will begin to open yourself up to deeper layers of exploration of truth. And I think that that's what your soul's trajectory is working towards on one of the levels. Okay. Well, I really hope that you found something a lot out of this today. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. And as always, write in the comments below if you've got something to share. Other than that, have a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye.